Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome to today's session of course Therapeutic Nutrition. This is the third module of this course, that is Nutritional Management of Gastrointestinal Tract Disorders, and this is the first lecture in which we shall be studying about nutritional management of diarrhea. I am Dr. Jaspreet Kaur, presently working as Assistant Professor, Government College for Girls, Ludhiana, Punjab, affiliated to Punjab University, Chandigarh, and this project is funded by DTH Swayam Prabha, MHRD, New Delhi. In the last module, we had studied about nutrition care during infections and fevers, and last lecture was about the nutritional management of HIV/AIDS infection. In this lecture, we shall be focusing on etiology, clinical features, and nutritional management of diarrhea. You will agree with me, diarrhea is an extremely unfavorable condition when it comes to carrying out our routine activities, and it is known to impact our daily lives. Though it is one of the most common causes of morbidity and mortality among children, but it affects a huge number of adult and elderly populations also. It is a condition which is both preventable and treatable. Now let's study about this disease. The gastrointestinal system performs very important functions in our body. For example, it helps in storing food, then it will mix the food with enzymes which are produced in different parts of the gastrointestinal tract to break down the complex foods into simpler forms of the food. We call this process as digestion. Then it will help in propelling the food mixture through the mouth to the esophagus and then stomach, then our duodenum, then small intestine and large intestine before sending it to anus and sending the stool out of our body. And then it will help in absorbing various nutrients into the blood, especially from the small intestine and other parts. And then looking at all these functions, we can imagine that any kind of disorder or disease of a particular part can really affect the storage, propulsion, digestion, and result in nutrient deficiencies. We shall be discussing the same in this unit, and we will begin with the diarrhea, which is one of the most common and at times very serious gastrointestinal tract problem. Let's define diarrhea. Diarrhea is frequent passage of loose, watery, unformed stools which may contain blood or mucus. Now, the frequency could be 3 or more unformed stools, and it could be more than what is considered normal for an individual. Diarrhea can be either acute or chronic. The acute nature could be which is of recent origin. But when we say chronic diarrhea, here it will be of longer duration and it could include repeated episodes of diarrhea. Acute diarrhea can last for several hours in a day, for example, in cholera. And then the second type is acute bloody diarrhea, that is caused by dysentery. And this, for example, in Shigella, where there is presence of blood in the stool. And then third type, chronic diarrhea, is a diarrhea which continues even after 2 weeks, that is more than 14 days. Acute diarrhea can be caused because of many type of infections, such as bacteria, uh, that is Salmonella, which causes food poisoning, and then Shigella, which causes dysentery, and then E. coli, which is found in water, and then we have some viruses such as rotavirus, which causes diarrhea among children, and then it could be protozoa, we call it Giardia, Entamoeba histolytica, and they can also cause dysentery. And then some pesticides, they can also cause acute diarrhea. And then some heavy metals like lead, mercury, arsenic, their presence can also induce diarrhea. And then certain drugs, which could be antibiotics or taking some antacids, they can cause acute diarrhea. And along with that, there could be some psychological factors which also cause this diarrhea. For example, when we are very excited or when we are very upset, that induces diarrhea. You must have noticed that before our examination, we also get some butterflies in our stomach, and many a times it leads to diarrhea also. Now, when we talk about chronic diarrhea, it can cause because of some long-term diseases. So let us see what are these. For example, such as if there is malabsorption syndrome, or there is deficiency of gastrointestinal secretions, or in some liver diseases, or in diabetes, where there are many changes which has happened in the body. So that will lead to such conditions, and finally they lead to diarrhea. It can also happen because of some chronic deficiencies or some allergies, such as milk allergy, wheat allergy, soy allergy. And as we know, diarrhea is a symptom. It's not a disease. It can be a symptom of some functional or organic disease. Let us see what are these diseases. Diarrhea could be a symptom of any of functional disease, such as any emotional state that can cause diarrhea, or then irritation or inflammation of the mucous membrane, which could be a result of physical, chemical, or any bacterial agent. And then food allergy could be one of the functional disease. And then in some nutritional deficiencies, for example, if a person is having B3 deficiency, that leads to pellagra. And one of the symptom of pellagra is diarrhea. And then lastly, there could be ecloorhydria. Now, this is a condition where there is less acid in the stomach, that is caused in either old age, or it could be in people who are taking too many of laxatives, and that leads to incomplete digestion process. Diarrhea can be seen as a symptom of some organic diseases where there is structural changes in the mucosal lining of small and large intestines they occur, such as in bacterial infections, for example, typhoid, bacillary dysentery, and then there could be some protozoal and parasitic infections such as amoeboisis that can occur. And then malabsorption syndrome, like celiac disease. Then there are some other diseases such as ulcerative colitis, viral hepatitis, liver cirrhosis, TB, pancreatic disorders. All these conditions, they can lead to diarrhea. And then carcinoma of intestines, that can also trigger diarrhea. Now let us see what are some other forms of chronic diarrhea. So the first type of chronic diarrhea we could see is known as osmotic diarrhea. This kind of diarrhea is caused when there is presence of osmotically active substances in the intestinal tract, which will favor drawing of large volume of water in the gut, and For example, the diarrhea which is associated with the lactose intolerance is one of the example. The solutes of the milk, they will draw water from the gut and they will cause diarrhea because there will be more water in the gut. Second type of chronic diarrhea we can see is secretory diarrhea. So here there will be over secretion of some salts in the intestine because of bacterial toxins such as E. coli, and then cholera toxins, they can also induce this condition. Then presence of some virus and caffeine which we take, and then there could be increased bile acids. They can also draw lot of nutrients, especially the electrolytes along with water. And then people who are taking laxatives, and in some condition where there is reduced absorptive surface which has happened because of any disease or some ileal resection, that is the surgical removal of the ileal portion. And this type of diarrhea, a person may experience this condition even when he is not taking any food, because the water is being drawn from the cells of the gut only. Rapid intestinal transit diarrhea is when there is increase in the propulsive activity in the colon. And now the gastrointestinal tract or the intestines, they will not get sufficient time to absorb the water back to the body. So the stool will become too watery. The next type of chronic diarrhea is exudative diarrhea. This is associated with damage to the intestinal mucosa, and this will lead to release or oozing of mucus, blood, and plasma proteins from the cell due to inflammation and injury. This will increase the fluid content of the feces. This is commonly seen in some diseases such as ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, and then radiation enteritis. So who is at risk of getting diarrhea? All age groups. And along with that, children below 5 years, they are more prone because they are not that hygiene conscious. And then people who are living in some unhygienic environmental conditions where good manufacturing practices of food and then good eating practices, or where there is shortage of potable water, all these people, they are more prone to get diarrhea. And malnourished people, we have already discussed that these people, they are more prone to infections, and we have just seen that all the acute infections, they can lead to diarrhea. And then some associated gastrointestinal disturbances, for example, people who are having irritable bowel syndrome, they are more prone. And then lastly, travelers, they are also prone, and this type of diarrhea is known as traveler's diarrhea. Let's summarize what are the causes of diarrhea. So, infection, which will reach our body through food, water, or unhygienic practices and through vectors. And then it could be allergy of any kind of food, and then gastrointestinal tract disorders or gastrointestinal tract surgery, and then long-term use of medicines or laxatives, that can be one reason, along with stress or anxiety, and then malnutrition of any kind we have already discussed, and then travelers, they are also prone. So let us see what are the symptoms of acute diarrhea. It would be, onset would be sudden, frequent, watery, unformed stools. Several stools will be experienced in an hour, and then along with that there could be abdominal pain, there could be cramps, there could be weakness along with fever or vomiting, and then it can last from 24 to 48 hours. And there could be blood in the stool in case of certain infections such as in Shigella, then Entomoeba histolytica. All these conditions, they can cause blood in the stool. Chronic diarrhea, we all know that it persists for longer duration. It could be more than 2 weeks, and then there could be 4 to 5 unformed stools in a day. All of us must have suffered from diarrhea at least once in our lives. So how do we feel? We feel dizzy, we feel there is dryness in our mouth, and we do not feel like eating, and our skin also become dry and loose, and the stools, they have so much of water, we lose lot of water, and then many electrolytes also they are lost. So let us understand the mechanism of effect of diarrhea on our body. There will be loss of water and electrolytes from our body, and we call this condition as dehydration. Now this dehydration, that results in reduction in the extracellular blood volume, and hence there will be reduction in the total blood volume, and low blood volume is associated with hypotension, and a low cardiac output will occur. In response to this hypotension, the heart tries to compensate by increasing the number of cardiac cycle per minute, which is indicated by the high pulse rate. And we can see that a person with diarrhea may have low blood pressure, but usually higher than normal pulse rate can be felt. As the severity of the dehydration increases, in spite of enhanced cardiac cycle, adequate amount of blood and nutrients, they will not reach all parts of the body. The patient therefore will be cold to touch at the extremities. His hands, his feet, they will be cold. And another complication that may arise is if there is severe dehydration and the patient does not receive prompt medical care, this will lead to a condition where the tissues of the various organs, they will uh, get reduced supply of nutrients and oxygen, and a severe damage can happen to the vital organs like kidney and brain. And then reduced blood volume, that will result in reduced glomerulofiltration rate, that is a rate at which the kidneys, they are filtering our blood, and therefore low urine output, that will happen. This in turn that can result in accumulation of toxic waste inside our body, and whole acid and base balance, that will get disturbed. And now this will lead to our depletion of base reserves. And once our base reserves, they are depleted, the condition of acidosis can be felt, and the person can go to coma, and this condition can be fatal. So let us summarize the broad effect of diarrhea on the metabolism. There will be huge loss of fluid. There will be loss of electrolytes, especially sodium and potassium. Then there will be incomplete digestion because the gastrointestinal tract is not working properly. There could be incomplete absorption because the undigested food with stool is getting passed out of the body. And there could be weakness, there could be malnourishment, and low immunity will be felt because the body is unable to fight the infection, and then effect will be felt on the physical and mental growth of children. Let's study what are the objectives of diet therapy in diarrhea. First thing is prompt replacement of fluid and electrolyte. As we know, it is very significant to prevent the morbidity and mortality which are associated with the dehydration. And then second thing is to see we are able to remove the cause of diarrhea. It may be because of many causes, as we have already discussed. It could be because of some infection, and in that case we have to go for some antibiotics. And then third thing is, we have to address the nutrition concerns that will come with the diarrhea. The key to diarrhea management is the early replacement of fluid lost in the stool through the intravenous or oral route, where in the severe cases we need administration of dextrose and electrolyte solutions intravenously. And mild to moderate cases, they can be managed at home only, and the patient can easily take a few liquid things just like coconut water, buttermilk, then whey water, then salted rice kanji can be given, then lemon sugar salt beverage shikanji that can be taken. Along with that, weak tea can also be given in such conditions for the fluid management. Oral rehydration therapy is a very effective method of replacing the lost electrolytes, and it helps in preventing and managing dehydration. ORS can be prepared by dissolving a sachet in the boiled and cool water, and it can be prepared at home also. So this is a recipe where we can use 1 liter of water, 6 level teaspoons of sugar, and half level teaspoon of salt can be taken, and it can be mixed. And then if we wish to make just a glass of water, then 1 teaspoon of sugar and 1 pinch of salt can be used to make this ORS at home. And along with that, zinc supplementation, that is also critical new intervention for treating the diarrheal episodes, especially among the children. Now, recent studies, they have suggested that administration of zinc along with low osmolarity ORS solution, that can actually reduce the duration and severity of the diarrheal episodes for up to 3 months. Coming to the energy requirements, during the acute phase of diarrhea, the calorie intake can be increased gradually as per the tolerance of the patient. And an increment of around 200 to 300 kilocalorie is a feasible target. Then the patients who are suffering from the diarrhea should never be starved, as even in the acute diarrhea, the digestive enzymes, they are functional, and almost 60% digestion can occur. Resting the gut, that can be more damaging, and that can bring out many structural changes in the gut membrane, and which can predispose the individual to many complications. Now these calories, they can be provided through easily digestible carbohydrates, and excess sugar has to be avoided to prevent the fermentation, which may aggravate the diarrhea. Requirement of protein, they are increased only in chronic diarrhea because of associated tissue depletion, and an additional 10 gram of protein that can be recommended above the normal requirement in the chronic diarrhea only. And we know that milk, it is a source of good quality protein, but it has to be restricted because it is high residue food. And if we are anticipating that diarrhea may have developed due to some relative deficiency of lactase, then again we have to hold back the milk in its original form. So the milk in the fermented form, like curd, that is considered which is better tolerated, and it is easy to be digested, and it will maintain the gut health also. Then other cooked and diluted milk products such as light porridge, paneer, they can be tolerated in small amounts. And along with that, we can always suggest some easily assimilated protein rich foods like minced meat, egg, skimmed milk, and its preparation, they can be given to maintain good protein level in the diet. The total amount of fat may be restricted as that digestion and absorption is compromised. in order to increase the calorie density of the diet, we can always suggest the emulsified fats. And they are the fats which are rich in medium chain triglyceride. They can be added in the restricted amount. And here, fat like butter, ghee, cream, they are easily digested, so they can be added. And then fried foods, we know they have to be avoided. And then invisible form of fat, that is the fat present inherently in the food. For example, egg yolk, whole milk, paneer, curd, and then some flesh foods, they are tolerated better as compared to the visible sources of the fat. Coming to carbohydrates, adequate amount of carbohydrates, that is 60 to 65% of the total calorie, should be given to the patient. And easily assimilated carbohydrates, that is coming from the starches, they should be preferred. The low fiber content of the diet should be used, because low residue, low fiber diet, that will limit the amount of food waste that has to move through the large intestine. These diet may help the person to control diarrhea and abdominal cramping, and this will make the eating more enjoyable also. Fiber, insoluble fiber, we know that should be strictly avoided to minimize the irritation to the gastrointestinal tract. And soluble fiber, since they will favor the good environment in the gut, and they will be preferred. And fruits like papaya and banana, they have astringent property, and they are beneficial for a diarrhea patient. Now let's talk about the residue. Residue is the solid contents that reach the lower intestine. A low residue diet, it is composed of the foods which are easily digested and readily absorbed, resulting in minimum of residue in the intestinal tract. Therefore, a low residue diet, that will contain limited amount of undigested and only partially digested ingredients will be there. And the foods which are high in residue are those which are high in roughage or fiber. So a patient is advised to avoid whole grain bread, cereal, seeds and nuts, and dry fruits, and then skins of fruits and vegetables. And milk, we know it is low in fiber, but still it is a very high residue food. So it can be consumed in moderation. Loss of vitamins, that will be related to the degree of mucosal damage. For example, B complex vitamins, especially folic acid, and then B12, vitamin C, and then fat soluble vitamins, they will be lost if the fat is not digested and it is lost in the stools. So all these vitamins we may have to supplement in case of diarrhea. Among minerals, iron is to be supplemented, especially if there is associated bleeding, because we have seen in many conditions, such as in case of dysentery. And then sodium and potassium may be replaced if there are many losses. And then we have prebiotics, which are highly recommended because they not only help in preventing infection, rather they will strengthen our immune system also. Now, let us summarize the management of acute diarrhea. So, the management involve firstly managing the fluid losses, and then electrolyte losses, and then ORT, that is simple, inexpensive and effective treatment of all kind of losses. And then the objective for the acute diarrhea would be replenish fluid and electrolytes. And coming to the chronic diarrhea, the management objective would be to meet the nutritional requirements as we have discussed, and then to replenish water and electrolytes which are lost, and then to provide extra nutrients to compensate for the losses, as the losses are more in chronic diarrhea, and then to reduce the residues to the minimum level. And so the principle is soft, bland, low fiber, low residue and low fat diet. Now let's discuss the diet and feeding pattern. So easily digestible, well cooked, soft and semi-solid foods they should be given, and we should give ample fluids and the food in diluted form, in frequent small feeds, that is 6 to 8 feeds in a day. And it is highly desirable to include washed pulses, refined cereals, well cooked vegetables, low fiber fruits, and then milk products they can be taken. And they can be supplemented with glucose, sugar, honey, jaggery, potato, yam, colocasia, rice, sago, and then semolina, refined flour, pasta, all of these they can be incorporated to make interesting dishes along with some liquid vegetables such as in the puree form or fruit juices, souffles, shakes, custard, kanji, they can be given. And it is important to avoid whole cereal, pulses, raw vegetable, fruits, fried foods, nuts, and milk based beverages once the lactose intolerance is there. So in this lecture, we have studied about the nutritional management of diarrhea. We have studied that it is passage of 3 or more unformed stool which may contain blood or mucus daily or more frequent passage than which is considered normal for an individual. And then we studied that it could be of 3 types which is acute watery, acute bloody or chronic diarrhea. And then we studied the causes of diarrhea can be infection, allergy, gastrointestinal tract disorders or GIT surgery or long-term use of laxatives or medicines, then stress, anxiety, malnutrition, and there could be people who are traveling leading to traveler's diarrhea. It leads to incomplete digestion, absorption, weakness, malnourishment, low immunity, and there is also effect on physical and mental growth in the children. And then the management of acute diarrhea that involves the replenishment of fluid and electrolytes which are lost during diarrhea. And then we studied that the chronic diarrhea principle involves soft, bland, low fiber, low residue, and low fat diet. Good personal hygiene and gut friendly food lead to happy gut. Thank you.